Good evening. I'm Dory Marlin.
And I'm Greg Floyd. Continuing coverage now of this tragic story that has rocked so many of us here in the capital region, that has those of us who never even knew this innocent little boy heartbroken.
Just hours ago, an emotional Albany County Sheriff Craig Apple addressing the media while Kenneth's accused killer is ushered into court in handcuffs.
CODY HOLYOKE anchoring our coverage along Thatcher Park Road in Knox tonight, just down the street from where young Kenneth was killed. Also, Jennifer Lukey is in Clarksville. That's where authorities laid out some of these chilling details.
And Kimberly Howard live in North Adams, Massachusetts. Kenneth's father opening up only to CBS 6 tonight. You're going to hear from him just minutes from now.
We're going to go first to CODY. He continues our live coverage in Knox. CODY, what do you have for us tonight?
Greg, Dory, I think the only thing right here in this neighborhood right now is a whole lot of emotion. The deputies have left within the last half hour, 45 minutes or so. People are finally getting back into their homes tonight after hearing this disturbing news and the account of what happened from Sheriff Craig Apple earlier today. For more than a day, deputies were here along Thatcher Park Road, about 200 yards behind me from where I'm standing at the VanAlstyne home, and right across the street is where the deputies made that disturbing discovery, the body of young Kenneth White. There was a lot of information that came out of that press conference today, a lot of candid moments from Sheriff Apple. For that, we turn to our Tori Wells, who was at this press conference. What can you tell us?
You know, Cody, we learned a lot of new information about the relationships and timeline in this case, but we were also left with so many unanswered questions, and some of those questions we may never get answers to, like why and how something like this could happen. Now, in that emotional press conference, Sheriff Craig Apple told us that Kenneth leaves behind a twin sister and a little 4-year-old sister. All three were living in their aunt's home. She had custody with her daughter, Tiffany VanAlstyne. She is the cousin charged in this case. Sheriff Apple told us that Tiffany was with the children in the home for just a bit of time before Kenneth was killed. Then the sheriff tells us investigators believe she moved his body, burying it in the snow. Tonight, we do not know what led up to that incident.
It's heart-wrenching. It's absolutely heart-wrenching. I got 3 boys. I'm going to go home and hug them. I'm sure everybody that was involved in this is going to do the same.
And some other unanswered questions this evening, if there will be other charges. The sheriff telling us the investigation is still ongoing this evening. The DA and the sheriff also not answering many questions about Kenneth's sisters, only telling us that CPS is looking into their well-being. We do not know at this point what they may have witnessed or what they may understand about this case, and obviously very difficult to talk to children that age about something as horrifying as this.
Well, how do you even start? I mean, I don't think any of us envy the role that educators and parents here in these communities have to sit their kids down tonight and tell them about the facts of life and in this story. And I know that it was very hard. I noticed watching the press conference today, and you were there. Tell us a little bit about the emotion, because, I mean, even the district attorney and the sheriff were talking about their own families, and you're hard-pressed not to think about your own families in something like this.
Absolutely. A lot of those investigators I know personally have children as well. This was a difficult case for them. The sheriff saying that there are some cases in a police officer's career that never leave them, stick with them, and this is one of them. And I can tell you, he had a hard time getting that out. He was choked up. It's hard not to be when you're talking about a 5-year-old.
Well, even as we're here talking about it, it's tough not to think of the families affected by this, not just the VanAlstynes and the sweet face. Yeah. Just a tragic loss. Tori, thank you very much for your report. Tonight, our live team coverage continues with Jennifer Lukey, who's in Clarksville. Jennifer, you were in court today as Tiffany VanAlstyne was brought in before a judge. What can you tell us about her emotion and her demeanor as she faced a judge?
Well, Cody, first let me say that it didn't take investigators long to realize that the story that she told them, that masked men broke down the front door, pinned her down, and stole Kenneth and put him in a car and took off with him. It didn't take investigators long to realize that that story just didn't add up. So they brought her here to the Clarksville station last night. She spent most of the day here being questioned. About 2:30 this afternoon, she was at Knox Town Court. That's where we were. She didn't say anything being brought into or coming out of court. She was very quiet. She looked up at us, but didn't almost looked like she might say something, but just kept walking with her head down. In the courtroom, it's a very small courtroom. I was sitting about 3 feet right behind her. The only time I ever saw any emotion from her was when the judge asked whether she was on any medications or taking any medications, and she said that she was bipolar and she was taking a medication for that. About halfway through the hearing, her mother came in, which, remember, is Kenneth's aunt and custodial guardian. She came in. Tiffany turned around, looked to her. They exchanged some looks, but really no emotion. But outside of the courtroom, I spoke to Tiffany's mom for just a brief moment. That's all she could handle, really. And here's what she had to say.
She loved the children. She would do anything for them. She taught them in school and everything. This is a shock to me. I don't understand. I don't think I can do this right now.
This is a very complicated family dynamic here. The woman you just saw, Tiffany's mother, as I said, also the aunt of little Kenneth. So one daughter going to jail, Kenneth gone tonight. Tiffany is being held without bail at the Albany County Jail until her next court hearing, which is next week. Back to you, Cody.
All right, Jennifer, thanks. And such a heart-wrenching story for the families affected by this and by the community. One thing that Sheriff Craig Apple stressed today time and time again was that Kenneth's biological mother and father are not connected to this crime from what they can find in any way. We want to go now to our Kimberly Howard, who took a bit of a road trip to Massachusetts today and spoke with the boy's father, and obviously an unimaginable time and some unimaginable loss for that family as well, Kimberly.
It sure is, Cody. Jason White is Kenneth White's biological father, as you mentioned, and he was very emotional during our interview, broke down several times while we were talking, saying that he just can't believe that somebody would murder a 5-year-old boy. He was very upset while we were talking, saying that he still can't believe that Kenneth is gone. He says that Kenneth was a special little boy, one with a heart of gold, one who had a very special connection with his twin sister Cheyenne and with his other siblings as well. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
He'll be missed. And he's with Grandpa now, you know, and we named him after him. He's one of the sweetest kids you'll ever meet in your life.
And as you've been hearing throughout this case, definitely a complicated family situation. Jason White says that he hasn't had custody of Kenneth in over a year. In fact, hadn't seen Kenneth in 8 months. The details surrounding that custody issue still a little sketchy, but Jason tells us that the reason why he didn't have custody of Kenneth and the other 2 children is he felt that he wasn't financially able to take care of all 5 of his kids. He does have legal custody of 2 of the children. They live with him now, and he also says that there will be a custody hearing on Tuesday, one where he is hoping to get custody of those other 2 kids who we know are being handled by social services at this very moment. He says that all he wants for Christmas is to have all of those kids under one roof. Of course, we know now that one of those kids won't be there. We're live in North Adams. Kimberly Howard, CBS 6 News. Back to you, Cody.
All right, Kimberly, thanks. It's hard to imagine a father's loss. Our hearts go out to him and his family. This is also a very emotional time for the kids who were Kenneth's age, who went to school with him. You think of the Bird Knox Westerlo School District today, where the flags were at half staff. We have some video for you from earlier today. The teachers were also called in an hour early, just really to give them an extra 60 minutes to process the gravity of this information that they were given, that one of their students was murdered in cold blood, before they had to go into the schools and tell their children what had happened in the most careful way possible, we imagine. Kenny was a kindergartner, and the superintendent today told CBS 6 that this is news that really, really hits this district hard.
There are a lot of staff members very upset with what happened because, you know, we operate in local parentheses and they feel like our kids. They are our kids. So no matter how well you know them, just knowing as a student walking our halls in our classes at our lunch hours is very difficult to deal with.
And, you know, Kenneth had only been in the school for a short time as he was a kindergartner, but the school system really feeling that loss. This is a very fresh wound for this community, and it's going to take some time, especially hard since this boy is so young. He had barely experienced life. He was 5 years old, and now families, community, law enforcement officers, everyone grieving right now as we try to get more information and more answers to pass along to you about what happened and why Kenneth is no longer alive today. Greg Dory will send it back to you for now.
All right, so much emotion out there. Cody and all our crews, thank you very much for that reporting.
We also